Hello and welcome to the official Formula 3.5 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Alessandro Dalidon and tonight joining us in the booth, a special guest Sam Fitzpatrick. Samudikum instead will be working our cameras in the production booth. 2 races left to cap Season 3 Championship on the line today at Circus Francorchamps in Belgium. Historical venue, not the tempo of speed after the last training race we had in Monza. Fast corner, long straights, plenty of opportunity to pass. Sam, glad to have you on board with us tonight. Ready for some great action here in the Belgian forest?
Absolutely. I mean, the last race I did in this series was the season finale last championship in Interlagos, and trust me, I mean, I've commentated on hundreds of races on Apex Racing TV. One of the most dramatic of all time, with the championship coming to a head, and the championship's coming to a head tonight as well. We've still got one more week to go after this, but we may be able to crown our champion. So I'm getting the lucky broadcast, I think.
Oh yes, for sure. We always say that whenever Austin Nani is not on board for the broadcast, we always have good ones. So hopefully the trend keeps on going as we are already approaching the halfway mark of qualifying, and we have at the moment Simon Thomas in pole position with the only sub 2 minutes lap so far in this first lap of 2 in qualifying, in front of James J. Pearson and Philip Schneider. Some different names here in the broadcast. We are missing some of the drivers, but here this track always provides great and entertaining races.
Yeah, I mean, we had a few drivers missing from the Radical series yesterday, didn't we? And I mean, in the end, that was a little bit anticlimactic. It could have been a bit better. However, we did have the prospects of a four-way battle for a win for the first half of the race. So, we've still got some pretty good drivers. I mean, I used to commentate on this quite regularly, and I mean, James Pinsker, superb driver, Edward Samborski, terrific driver as well. Of course, Samborski, the #1 seed out of the drivers, so it should still be a high quality of field, lots of points at stake, of course, in the official series championship. This is the strength of field race, and yeah, if you're going to put together a good championship, you have got to be performing and turning up to these races most weeks. As here is Pinsker looking to take. He was a 10th short on his first lap. His second lap does put him in provisional pole by a 10.5.
Yes, for sure, as I get reminded, because I forgot already that is Thomas Simon, not the other way around. I got tricked by the first time we said that with Austin, as we are about to finish also the second lap for Dennis Furkheim into 10th. Some different positions compared to what we are used to for some of the drivers. We've been Samborski in 15th place, not a exceptionally good lap, but he still have time to complete this second flying lap, as this race will be very, very interesting, because we have first of all the chance to clinch the title for Ben Fuller, although he's not racing with us tonight. If the permutations are correct, Robert Arton needs at least a podium to keep the championship open till the next round, but mostly between high downforce setups and middle downforce setup. I've been doing some laps in practice, and I've seen multiple drivers having different setups, so who elects to have more grip through the corners and who instead is gonna aim for maximum straight line speed.
Absolutely, and I mean, you've got to consider the raceability as well. Samborski's not going to get this up in, he's going to run out of time, it looks like. But you've got to consider the raceability of the cars. It's not just about how fast the car is around the track, which you'd think it would be. But if you can't overtake, then it's a bit pointless. You can be half a second lap faster if you're not fast down the straights, though it is really tricky to make a move, particularly in these cars where the turbulent air is very prominent, so you can't really, nip up a move, pull a dummy on one of the drivers around the middle parts of the lap. You've got to be making it down the straight with in the slipstream or with the DRS, and so yeah, you cannot afford to have too much drag, and so that will be a very interesting aspect to tonight's race.
Absolutely, and therefore qualifying is also gonna be very important. And James J. Pinsker is the man who put in pole his car number 4 with a 1:59.784 in front of Thomas Simon. Second row for Philippe Schneider and Robert Tarton, Paul Hilbrink, Beatrice Philfaux, Theodore Burns, Tom Wedgwood, Benjamin Barato, and Dennis Furkham to round up the top 10. In 11th place we find Carlos De Reggio, followed by John Owens, Yuki Shirakawa, Jamie Byrne. 15th place for Edward Samborski, 16th Stevie Gaiuri, James Byrne, Joner Rodriguez, Dennis Cornu, Daniel Galis in 20th, Oliver Cuoca in 21st, Adam Kohn, Phil Reed, Jakub Swiderski and Jakub Obruszlak, the two Jakubs, rounding up the field. 25 cars on the grid today, so a very large field as we are approaching the end of the gridding process. So we are set for another thrilling race in the Formula 3.5 with a very interesting pole position from James. Let's see if he will be able to convert his pole position into another victory. Has been racing here on Apex Racing TV in this particular broadcast race a lot, but unfortunately he only had just a few wins, but he's very, very fast. So lights are about to go out here at Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most iconic tracks in motorsport, and here we go. Lights are out, and James Pinsker has a very good start, but not as good as Tarton, who tries almost to go around the and everybody trying to make his way their way through the hairpin. Some drivers banging wheels on exit, but everything looks smooth out of turn 1, down to Rouge, and up the Kemmel Straight, where the first passes will be made.
Absolutely mixed up for Tarton, and look at this. Well, I wonder if he's finding a little bit less drag, because he's storming past. I mean, that's Raikkonen 09-esque, isn't it? So he's got curves on that, and yeah, you can see the width in that rear wing just allows him to power past up into the lead. So what a fantastic start for a driver who needs a strong result, of course, in order to keep the championship alive going into week 12 of the series. So yeah, remarkable start for Tarson, up 3 places, but here comes Pinsker around the outside, so much more confident through the corners, and there's a little bit of netcode contact between the two of them. I hope that doesn't cause any damage. And well, you were billing that one up beforehand, Sanjay, the low downforce versus high downforce. Well, this first half of lap has been a brilliant demonstration of that.
Absolutely, James making the pass back for first place, as Schneider also goes around the outside of Tarton, but makes a small mistake, and Tarton gets P2 back. This is slowing everybody down and giving the chance to James to pull away. He already opened up a gap of almost 2 seconds. I wonder if Tartan has a bit of damage out of that contact we've seen earlier with James. There was still netcode between the two drivers, but that might upset a little bit Tartan, as we are side-by-side racing with Simon and Phil, and they go around. Thankfully they stay out of the racing line, and no other drivers are involved, but going side by side through that corner in the opening lap usually doesn't really go very well.
Well, everyone was just really aggressive on that first lap, weren't they? I mean, Tarleton was very quickly nearly overtaken by Chris Narja, I believe. Yeah, then they all kind of squabbled amongst each other, and then once you've got 8 Formula 3.5 cars within 2 seconds of one another, you're always going to risk an incident like that. So shame that we've had a couple of the drivers who could have won this race, or at least got a podium, already out of the running, as Derek Cho is moving past Byrne at the moment. I think Reed has just gone with him as well. Reed with a terrific start, up 10 places, highest gainer so far in this race. So we ride on board the shoulder cam there. It's John Owens just had, so Byrne did lose out in the end. Reed still alongside, got to be really careful here. We've got a spinner just ahead. They managed to go either way, I believe, although the drivers behind weren't, and we've pretty much got a roadblock.
Oh boy.
Now, many drivers with a lot of damage, and I wonder how that all kicked off, but I believe was it Rodriguez at the front of that, or maybe Byrne? I think he was one of the front runners there, and yeah, just in the middle of the circuit, no one had anywhere to go.
Yeah, we will for sure see the replay of that anytime soon, but what an eventful start of the race. 18 laps, and the first two we've seen already multiple drivers having trouble. Change for the lead at the start with Tartan showing the speed of the medium downforce setup. He closed down a lot on the straight, but obviously the middle sector lost quite a lot. Let's see here, it was I think Rodriguez indeed the driver involved in there, with Barato also involved in that incident. Very, very unfortunate, because the drivers were about to clear that incident, but indeed then someone unfortunately collected the slow car and started all this mess. But look at the battle here in front, in the top 5. Everyone is still very, very close, apart from Pincer. But keep an eye on the gap, Sam, because you will see now in this part of the track it will come down massively from Pincer to Tartan, because that medium downforce setup will give him such an amazing speed. But unfortunately, as I was saying earlier, second sector he will lose even more.
Yeah, exactly. And on that last lap, it was Pinsker with the overall advantage. So looking very strong for the UK and I driver, as Ilbrink runs a bit wide. Ilbrink not really being able to take advantage of some of the incidents going on ahead of him. He's one place down from his race start. Former, I think not sure if he's ever won the official series in this car. But I think he finishes in the top 5 pretty much every season. Of course, former World Championship driver, and a very accomplished World Championship driver. I think several top 10s in the single-seater series. It used to occur in the FW31. I remember Alex Simpson, of course, the leading figure in Apex Racing UK, had many battles, I think, with Paul, particularly in their last season, battling against one another, I think, in 2018. No, Ilbrink is a very accomplished driver, and actually around this part of the circuit he does really gain quite close to Burns, who is running a very wide rear wing there. So Ilbrink, I think, will probably be past very soon.
Yeah, Paul, very, very fast, but unfortunately this season very, very unlucky. Now tries to get the car on the inside of Theodore Burns. Both drivers giving each other plenty of room. Now tires also coming up to temperature, so everyone being more comfortable running side by side through these corners in the opening laps, as we were looking yesterday in the Radical. Sam, you always have to be extra cautious, because these cars don't like cold tires at all.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly in the Radical, I've driven the Radical quite a bit, and it is, yeah, just absolutely terrifying on the first lap. And these cars a lot more power as well. It's really tricky on that front. Once you do get them up to temperature, of course, got to make sure that you don't burn them out too much. Just hoping they were just struggling through the first sector of the lap, because they then managed to drop back behind Burns. Further up, there's Naja versus Wedgwood. That's an ambitious move there from Wedgwood. Don't go for that one, mate. That was a long way back. They did have to get back out of it in the end. They could not necessarily an amazing overtaking place, because it's very narrow. And so, particularly in these wide cars, it's tricky to go around the outside, and because they carry so much speed, that's not actually that big a braking area either. These guys now 1.3 seconds behind Tolton, and Pinsker's just in a league of his own. 2-minute 1.2 on that last lap. He's pulling away by over half a second a lap at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. Great start of the race by James, profiting from the absence of our championship leader Ben Fuller, who's not here with us tonight, but still we have a very good competition, and the strength of field also this week definitely very, very high, as Tartan is in second place, now 5 tenths in front of Presnyder. He will open up the gap again on the straight. He just needs to keep the podium, possibly score as much points as possible here to have some chances to still win the title this season, but it looks very, very difficult. Obviously with drop weeks anything can happen, but Ben Fuller has been delivering always every week, and it's very, very difficult to overthrow him from the lead of the championship. Also here we have a nice race for Dennis Furkheim, who started in 10th place, moved up 3 spots. Dennis doing an amazing job. He came into the series halfway through the season and always showed plenty of speed, and it's very, very difficult to establish yourself into these series, in these broadcast races, because the SOF of these Formula 3.5 Champions is always one of the highest on the racing calendar.
Yeah, and you've got to be a top driver in order to control these cars to really get all out of them. As Shirakawa just made that move on Francorchamps, although I doubt that'll be the only move between those two to the end. And also, oh, we got a crash. That's Wedgwood, and it's involved a couple of other cars. That's Sam Borski, who's had to take evasive action, and Shirakawa, unfortunately, after that good move just beforehand, he got caught up, and I wouldn't be surprised if Berkheim as well had some contact. Berkheim at least is continuing. And of course, no fast repairs in this series. That could be their day over. Here it was then for Wedgwood. It was all by himself. He was really pursuing the third place man well. Also had some contact, was Burns actually. So that is really 4 cars, I think, who, as they were moving past, made contact with him.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. 2 mass master for Tom Wedgwood, and this is race earlier than expected. We will check on Theodore Burns also later to see if his car is still in one piece, because that was a light hit, but you never know. The front wing is a very, very fragile part of the car. You don't really feel the difference maybe immediately, but through the first corner for sure Theodore might have some issues, as Shirakawa adds to pit road. This car definitely is not okay, as Theodore Burns moves up into 4th place now, but is still trying to defend from Paul Hilbrink. Very, very unfortunate mistake there for Tom Wedgwood that opened up now 3rd place to Press Snyder, and all these guys move up now up place, giving Phil Reed also the chance to enter top 10. Remember, Phil Reed on a controller. Even more remarkable.
I did not know that. Does Reed always drive on a controller?
Yeah, he always does, and I still don't understand how he can be so quick with the controller.
Yeah, it's depressing, isn't it? Reed gets past Dericho, so yeah, he is really motoring along. I remember commentating on Reed, and you can see the branding on his livery actually, the Apex Online Racing. So he was always very good in that as well, was Reed, and that's been driving, I believe, in this car for over a year, really since we started broadcasting these Formula 3.5 races on Apex Racing TV. By the way, quick shout out to one of our sponsors for this broadcast, SDK Gaming, who provide the amazing overlay. And that's one of the highlights of broadcasting this series, because we've got this Formula 3.5-esque overlay. I think back then it was called a Renault 3.5 series, but it is amazing, the fact that we've got this overlay, and it just shows how much customization there is. I mean, this isn't like an amazing mod or anything. All it is just some CSS settings which enable you to do this. Admittedly, it did take I think Pascal, who developed this, many hours to do, but I mean, look at the result. You could really not spot the difference. And of course, with all the elements that SDK Gaming provides as well, with the battle box, with the chat map, with the graphics which show kind of the ever-changing race which is going on, it kind of takes the existing overlay and makes it even better. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk to get an overlay like this, or an F1 style overlay, or a NASCAR overlay. It is some terrific kit, and it's not just great as well for broadcasting and streaming, it's also fantastic as well as a heads-up display. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk for more details.
Indeed, and remember, there is a 2 weeks tryout for new customers, so if you want to try, just download it. You don't have to pay anything, so make sure to give it a try, as we have here another great battle developing between Phil Reed, Carlos Derecho, and also look who's back there in 11th place, Thomas Simon, after the mistake in the opening lap. Now trying to make it back into the top 10, as we have a big spin for Per Schneider. He was in 3rd place. Careful there. Thankfully nobody was coming. Phil Reed was far away, but is car okay? We will see in the next few corners. Looks like he just lost control and went wide. Hopefully didn't touch the wall, but the car seems still in one piece, so Per Schneider should be able to continue.
Yeah, that is disappointing for Presnacha. He's not had a perfect race by any means, but was holding on to that 3rd place very strongly. I think just had enough straight line speed to hang on to it. If you can see a replay of how that one happened, it can happen in a multitude of ways, albeit yeah, it was under pressure from Reed as well. Here he was, so he'd actually been able to drop Burns slightly in that 3rd place. And what did he get? Was that a bump there, Alessandro? He was certainly out wider than he would have wanted to be.
Yeah, that's definitely not the preferred line. He washed wide a little bit and maybe the car just got unsettled. I don't think there is a bump there, but for sure if you go a bit wider, especially if you have a low downforce setup, maybe the car doesn't really like it. It's gonna be interesting to see if happens again during the race, as Phil Reed now has the chance to make the pass on Per Schneider. Remember that we also have DRS available for the drivers during the race. 8 DRS is available to use any time during the race. No need to be within a second or anything at your disposal, but you only got 8 shots.
Oh, net code.
Oh boy,
that was a
that
lot
was
of net
huge.
code.
That was one of the biggest I've seen in a while. Really, really unfortunate for Phil Reed, but he still manages to keep the car pointing straight and loses a few positions, but it could have been much, much worse for the driver from UK and Ireland. Very, very unfortunate. You hate to see that, because drivers give him plenty of room, trying to race clean, but unfortunately we all live so far away, sometimes the connection just can't keep up.
It's hard because, of course, you know, British driver versus Iberian driver. I thought it'd be quite that big, but yeah, you're absolutely right when it's one of the biggest that we've seen for a while. As Ilbink almost made the move on Burns there. He's been working at this one for a while, and now that Burns has no slipstream from the car ahead, maybe there could be an opportunity. By the way, gap out in the lead is down to 2.1 seconds. I think we'll stick with this battle for 3rd and 4th for a little while longer, but you may have just seen on the timing tower, Tarleton was able to take out 1/10 of a second off Pinsker on that previous lap, so it is getting a bit more tasty. But this 3rd and 4th quite a bit back, not yet halfway through this race. In fact, still got plenty of time remaining. As here comes Ilbink. Maybe we'll use one of his DRSs. There's still a gap though in that wing, so it seems like he is not. I don't think either of them are using the rear wing. In fact, was Burns using the rear wing there, Alessandro? I wasn't quite sure.
It's the opposite, I think, if I'm correct. I remember correctly. If the wing is closed, the DRS is activated. If the wing is open, as you see here, it means that has not been used. So the opposite of F1. So
And
definitely, yeah. Yeah, I think so, but that's how iRacing developed this DRS system, so I trust iRacing, even though, yes, physics is a bit different thing. But never mind, as I also want to give a shout out to Barato joining us in the chat. Really unfortunate racing for the French driver who joined us now also here in the chat in our stream. You have still one race left. Make sure to get the most out of it next week. Really, really unfortunate, as Paul Ilbrink is still trying to find a way to pass Theodore. Theodore doing an amazing race, outscoring Samborski, his teammate. For this one, Samborski though started all the way back in 15th place, so he's having a solid race, 9 spots up from where he started. Now he's 6th, a few seconds behind, but with a chance still to get a top 5.
And of course, Zamborski had that off as well, just before No Name corner, and I thought he may have hit the wall or hit the stranded car just in front of him. It was Wedgwood who crashed ahead. His pace seems to be really strong though, does Zamborski on that last lap. He did a 2-minute 2.14 on the previous lap. He was in the 2-minute ones, and that's pretty much matching the race leaders. So Zamborski had good pace, but his first lap in qualifying wasn't very good, and his second lap wasn't done in time. He left the pits too late. It is a smaller window around this Spa circuit because the track is so long. Oh, that's contact between Ilbrink and Burns. Well, I'm sure Ilbrink will be saying that was netcode. I'm not 100% sure if it was. And from that, Zamborski all of a sudden is up into 3rd place because I think simultaneously he made the move on Francorchamps. So many changes there. And yeah, well, I feel like even if that was netcode, Sanjay, Ilbrink was kind of running the risk. It's a bit like tailgating someone on the dual carriageway, as Ilbrink has just crashed now, going through No Name corner. Disastrous lap for him, albeit that car still miraculously looks alright. But yeah, he was kind of running the risk in the first place, I think, Sanjay. Running that close into the braking area, you're really putting a lot of faith in the driver ahead not to brake a few meters earlier than you expect.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, in my opinion, a bit unnecessary. It was impossible to make a move stick there. But, you know, Paul is an experienced driver, but everyone makes small mistakes, and unfortunately that costed him quite a lot of places, and mostly also costed Theodore Byrne the 3rd place in the standings. Now he's back in 6th. Both drivers still going on with no damage, I think, but obviously this is a big blowout for both of them, as instead Zamborski now is the one making up 2 freebies and getting a glimpse of the podium now, although the German driver Dennis Furkheim in the 17 car doing an amazing job, since he's one of the lower seats in the standings rating wise, in 4th place, as we have the replay of the pass made by Zamborski the previous lap. Very straightforward. Zamborski using DRS, Furkheim not using DRS, so nothing to do for the German driver. Zamborski moves up 3 spots actually in that corner.
Yeah, 12 places gained overall. That is more places gained than anyone else. Reed with 11, Quoker on 10, and Zamborski currently taking the biscuit. So the battle for the lead then, Pinsker was pulling away, hand over fist earlier on. It was about half a second a lap faster in the first 4 or 5 laps, but you can see since then the gap has come down a couple of tenths a lap on that last lap. Pinsker was actually able to respond to 21.4, was about half a second faster than some of his previous laps, so really turning it on when he needs it. It's kind of tricky to judge whether the gap is going down or not, because of course these guys running such different downforce levels. Pinsker much faster through the middle sector, but much slower through the 1st and 3rd sectors. And of course you can see the live gap between the drivers by clicking on the live timing link in the description below, provided by SDK Gaming. Now I'll open up a web page for you, and you can see the differences between the drivers along with plenty of other useful information. On this lap, I think Pinsker's once again just extended the lead slightly, 21.5, another good lap there. In fact, they matched each other, with Dalton taking 100th out. So that's 3 laps in a row now where really nothing has changed, or 2 laps in a row at least, where nothing has really changed between these 2 drivers. So Thompson needs to keep on working at this one, and yeah, he's still got time to make up that gap.
Absolutely, as also he will be now closing down even more, since he has also the draft from James' car. You can see here less than 6 tenths is the gap.
Is a DRS?
Might be, I haven't checked, but I think it's just pure draft and medium downforce against high downforce setup, because remember Tartan on the straight is significantly faster than James, but look at his time now. He lost all the time gained in the previous on the Kemmel straight in just 3 corners. He's all the way back now on more than 1.5. So it's really tough. I personally don't really know which setup is the best. Obviously, if you know that you can make your way up and defend to this section, the medium downforce setup is the way to go, because on the straight you can gain so much time. But Tartan is really struggling in this middle sector compared to James, as we have another great fight here for 8th place with Schneider defending from the rage of, and also Thomas in the white car in 10th place trying to make up a few extra spots. Drivers pushing really hard, and also exploiting a bit the off tracks since you have 17 incident points to use in the race. And the Spa, you know, it's very hard on off tracks and track limits. Everyone now trying to get the most out of the car as the Recho makes the pass on to Schneider.
That's crazy how much he gained there, Derecho. Oh, contact, and Derecho's in the middle of the circuit. Other drivers have to scram, but the last one wasn't able to burn to slide round. Didn't really do anything wrong there. I think Derecho, he held his brakes. These 3.5 cars are built strong, aren't they? We've had a lot of incidents. I mean, how Ilbrink is still going, I don't know. But those side contacts don't seem to be costing the drivers too much. And Reed is still, apologies, Burn is continuing on. Reed, meanwhile, has just got past Quoker for 10th place. And also, has something just happened to Chris Schneider? Sorry, I just looked away there. Did something happen that we saw, Alessandro?
I think he might have a slowdown. It's quite strange. I don't think he has any damage. The car seems to be okay. He doesn't lose any time on the straight. The car is the steering is straight. I think he might have just got a slowdown at the Ato Rouge. And that's, I think, the only explanation I have for being so slow on the straight, as now he will able to make the pass on Audi Quokka for 10th place. Definitely not much time to focus on one battle, as we have battles all over the field, excitement throughout all the race, but this is why we always come back to this series, to watch this series, and also to drive this series, because this one is absolutely amazing to have on Saturday night, as Quokka loses the place on Schneider, but I think we'll make the pass back, because Schneider seems to have not a lot of straight line speed.
Yeah, definitely. And he might have a bit of damage after earlier on. I'm trying to think of that front wing asymmetrical. I'm quite sure it doesn't seem to be too bad for him. But yeah, certainly running more downforce anyway, but much quicker through the corners. And of course, as you know, as Sandra was saying, you know, it's a brilliant series to drive this. I mean, if you want to get a head start when driving this car, Apex Racing Academy is certainly a good step for that, because I believe Peter Babe designs the Apex Racing Academy setups. Peter, an absolutely terrific driver, particularly in single-seaters, was very successful back in the MP4-30. Got many podiums in the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series. One of the best drivers in all of iRacing, as he's proven, also in the Porsche Cup Championship as well. And so you can get setups designed and used by Peter Bayman, and you can also book one-to-one coaching with him. You can take part in group coaching sessions. You can use data analysis software from Virtual Racing School as well through your Apex Racing Academy membership, and of course you can do all that for 3.5 and 28 other cars because there's 29 data packs available, all following the official series that iRacing runs. So yeah, if you're looking to take this car, then Apex Racing Academy is absolutely the place to go, because then you have all the setups that you need for each circuit downloaded for you straight away. So do check out apexracingac.com. There should be a link in the description below. Samborski's having a tough time keeping behind Francorchamps at the moment. Francorchamps was a tenth of a second faster on that lap when he really made the move on this lap.
Yes, absolutely. These two guys have been nose to tail for most of the race. Look, I'm keeping up with Samborski, and as I always say, it's always interesting to see how these fights develop in the last few laps, because it's a fight to who has still one more DRS left on the straight, because it's so powerful, and if you're so close, you can gain quite a lot. So it's also a strategic battle, trying to not use all the DRS in the early part of the race to pull away, or to make up spot to keep them for the final few laps if you are in a battle. And also we have the leading two drivers closing down the gap. We have now about a second between Pinsker and Tarton, so the race is not over for the lead, but obviously the difference in setups is gonna be making this chase for the American driver quite hard, and also tires now some will start to give up a little bit, especially I think for drivers with a lower downforce setup.
Yeah, we've seen so many of those drivers kind of sliding about through the long radius corners we have here at Spa, so yeah, that will certainly be an element. Simon Tamas managed to get past Ilbrink on this lap, and also I think it's Quaker who got past Reed, I believe. So yeah, Quaker up into 9. I feel like Reed, of course, was storming up earlier on, and then he's kind of gone backwards, then forwards, then backwards. Now he's got Chris Schneider, who's somehow still in this race after various issues that he's had. However, Chris Schneider running that higher downforce setup, not really going to be able to make any impression there, as the leaders move on to lap 16. We've got 3 laps to go.
Yes, gap still about a second between Pinsker and Tarton. Tarton will close down the gap massively here at the Cam straight.
This will be close by the end of this straight, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at that. We have some draft from the car number 15 of Jamie Byrne. Tarton now looking to make the pass around the outside, but James will be braking very, very late and stick the car to the inside, and indeed will keep P1. Robert needs to be a bit closer, a few tenths. I think 1 or 2 tenths should be absolutely fine for him, because he needs to clear James before the braking zone, as we've seen here, to make the move. Otherwise James can just brake 50 meters later and defend very, very easily.
And this is where, of course, the DRS usage comes into play as well. We've seen Talton use a couple, or at least I believe he's used a couple. Pinsker, it's not quite so, I'm not quite so sure. And so if he has got another 6 to spare, where he can use, of course, 1 down the Kemmel Straight each lap, and use 1 down this part of the track as well, then that could really help him defend. Get back up to 1.5 seconds, which is pretty good for Tartan. I don't think Tartan's been quite this close so far. And yeah, just 2 more laps to go. He had started to take 0.2 of a second a lap, most lap, 0.2 of a second out of Pinsker most laps in the past couple of laps, and I think he's going to do the same thing here. And if he, well, this is possibly his best chance, Tarleton. He is really lining this one up well. He was 3.5 of a second faster. If you can just get La Source right, I think Pinsker's going to be a sitting duck at the end of the Kemmel Straight.
Oh yeah, I think James, if Robert doesn't make any mistake here, it will be sitting that 100%, because there's even with the DRS no chance to keep him behind, and indeed James just sticks to the inside, lets him go, and will try probably to make something happen through the middle sector, because if Robert manages to stay in front of him till Blanchimont, then there's no way James Pincer will be able to make the pass, as he has no straight line speed compared to the American driver, who had a very tough job to close that gap down. Took essentially all race long to close the gap that he lost in the opening lap, as James is looking to make the pass, but here is very, very difficult. Maybe he can do something in this next few corners.
I'm surprised James didn't use the DRS up the came on straight. It looked like Tarleton was once again, but we were riding on board with Pinsker, and that rear wing never closed. So seems like he didn't use it. So maybe he's used them all up, or maybe he really is just saving them up for these closing stages. He hasn't been able to get past, and as you're saying, if he's not passed around this part, then it's going to be tricky. But he does have the DRS spare. He can stay in the draft. He's not losing too much time here, Pinsker. I think he'll be all right with this one. He should be able to get the gap right back down to pretty much nothing into the chicane. But certainly advantage Tarleton with one more lap to go. And yeah, you got any DRSs? Better use them now.
Absolutely, and this is not the part where James will make a lot of ground. Here he will have to minimize the mistakes and try to be as close as possible to Tartan, and then find an attack in the middle sector. There's no way he can do any other overtake on this track with such a difference in straight line speed. You can see Tartan pulling away massively here before Eau Rouge, and the gap will open up even more through this section, as Thomas Simon sets also the fastest lap of the race, showing his very, very fast pace and speed. Already 7th place after being at the tail end of the field after lap 1, as Pinsker now has 7 tenths to make up. I think it's gonna be very, very hard for him.
Yeah, because even if he does get past, he's just going to be overtaking again, isn't he? Going into Blanchimont on the last lap. But yeah, I think his only chance here is probably to try to get the move done in the middle part of the lap, and then try to get Tarleton offline, so that Tarleton's run is compromised. It's not quite close enough into Lefania. Really go for it though. Down the inside, he does force him offline, and he should be able to make this move stick here, should the Jordan liveried driver. And now he will try to scamper away through these final 2 corners, but it is still advantage Tarleton, because he should be able to slipstream ahead. This one is going to come down to the wire.
Absolutely, Tartan with a huge run. DRS is not activated for the car in front, as Tartan just fly past Pincer, and now opens a gap of 3 tenths that will not be able to close, and Tartan making his way through the final chicane, the final bus stop of the day, and Robert Tartan wins here in Belgium and keeps his championship hopes alive, bringing the final round of the season will be the decisive round for the title, as Samborski also defends from Dennis Furkheim, who had an amazing run, but unfortunately is just a bit short from the podium for his first ever podium almost in the 3.5 broadcast race. Theodore Burns 5th, then Owens, Thomas Simon in 7th with a great run, although he had a terrible start, and Quokka Ilbrin Press Snyder coming all across the finish line. Another great race, another great battle between Tartan and Pinsker. Tartan needed to be very careful, because obviously his championship hopes were very important. He couldn't afford a mistake, and indeed he brought home the race win.
Yeah, that was absolutely enthralling. It is rare, isn't it, when you go into the final 3 corners of a race, as Reed's had a big crash because he's missing the front of his car. But it's rare that you go into the final 3 corners of the race and you think, oh, the guy who's in the lead, probably not going to win this race. I mean, even like Daytona, you know, you think, it's probably 50-50 this one. But just with the difference in downforce levels, played such a part there, and it was a thrilling battle. Both deserved the race win. But yeah, it was Tarzan who got it, and got some crucial points. I mean, as long as his championship rival has a clean race in the last round of the championship, they should be able to clinch it. But no, Tarzan's put up a very good fight, and I'm sure that will probably go down as his race of the season. I haven't watched any of the other races, I must say, but I imagine you'd be hard pushed to find a better race or better performance than that.
Absolutely. I wonder what happened there to Phil Reed in the last lap, because that car was completely destroyed. He was around the top 10, and he finished all the way in 19th with a 2 minutes 47 final lap. So for sure he collided with either someone or something in the final lap of the race. Really unfortunate, because he had plenty of speed and made his way up to almost a solid top 10. But here are the race results of week 11 here for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship. Robert Tarton keeps his championship hopes alive by winning this amazing race in front of James J. Pinsker. Edward Stamborski with an incredible third place, considering he started all the way in 15th place. Dennis Furkheim with his fourth place, his best finish of the season, almost short to get the first podium of his broadcast career here on Apex Racing TV. Theodore Burns in 5th place, John Owens, Thomas Simon, Oliver Cuoca, Paul Hilbrink in 9th. Very lucky to finish this race, thankful to the old damage model we have still on this car. And Philip Schneider rounds up the top 10. James Byrne, Dennis Cornu, Daniel Galis, Jakub Swiderski, Jakub Obrożak in 15. Then in 16th place Adam Kohn, Yuki Shirakawa in 17th after a very unfortunate crash earlier on. Then we have Carlos Derejo, who continued with a broken wing till the end. Phil Reed, we see him coming across the line with a lot of damage in the final lap in front of Steve Gaiuri in 20th, who is the last car on the lead lap. Jamie Byrne, Bradley Filippo, Tom Wedgwood, Benjamin Barato, and Jon Rodriguez all involved in crashes along the way, with the last 3 cars not making it to the checker flag. So Sam, I think we are ready to bring in our race winner James J. Pinsker, but first let's give a quick shout out to the last remaining sponsor of this broadcast, that being Virtual Racing School, that remember you can always integrate with the Apex Racing Academy, so you have both a subscription on one single website, 50 plus data packs, road, oval, dirt, whatever you might need for your racing career, you will find it there, with track guides, data analysis softwares, one-on-one coaching. So make sure to check them out. Just Google Virtual Racing School VRS on your PC and have it a look. You can always try a few data packs for free, and then eventually you can choose the subscription you might need for your iRacing career. So it's time to now hear from our race winner Robert Tarton. Robert, congratulations for your win. It was a very important win for you, because with Ben not racing today, you got some very solid points, and your championship hopes are still alive till next week.
Yeah, it was really great to get another win. I feel like it's been way too long. It's just unfortunate it wasn't while Ben was here. I think as far as the championship goes, though, I'm probably out of it, just because at this point I've missed 2 weeks, and then I had 3 bad races. So I think my main focus at this point is to just finish ahead of Samborski and take second.
Absolutely. You never know. There's still a week left, and as far as I know, I got told that the champ should be still mathematically open, but very, very difficult. But we've seen anything happen last time at Interlagos on week 12 last season, so you never know.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely take that.
What about your race instead? You had a very interesting opening lap, a very interesting battle with Philip, I think, and the gap with James opened up very, very fast in the opening lap, but then it took you the entire race to close down the gap and then make that pass on the last straight. So very exciting finish.
Yeah, I definitely decided to take a gamble with the medium downforce on this one. With this track, it's one of those things where the DRS on medium downforce does pretty much nothing. So if you go with medium downforce, you have to have, you know, at least a couple tenths advantage, or else your overall race time is going to be slower. So I took a gamble. It looked like James had the same pace as me, so for a long while it looked like it was not going to pay off. But fortunately, I was able to chip away, you know, a tenth at a time, and then I think it was between him fuel saving and me just catching the tail end of the draft, I was able to, you know, pulled me back up, and then once I'm up there, medium downforce just goes right by. So it took a couple laps to get the offset enough to stick in the lead, but yeah, overall very happy and really glad to finally get another win.
Absolutely. That was very, very nice to see how the different setups were playing out throughout the lap. It was fascinating to see how much you closed down on the straight, but then how much James was able to pull away in the middle sector. That was really, really interesting to keep track during the race.
And I didn't know if he used all of his DRS at the beginning or not, or if he was going to have a little bit left at the end. Definitely kept it interesting for my seat as well.
Anyone you would like to thank, Robert, before we let you go?
Yeah, as usual, I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Heidi. She's kept pushing me continually and reminding me that I have not been winning. So big thanks to her for keeping it push me. And then also, I have a new person to thank. I have a new teammate, my brother. And we've been working on different strategies for this race. So big thanks for him for the laps that he put in and the thought that we put into this race. So yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, Robert, and I see you then in 7 days' time at Phillip Island.
Great, see you guys there.
Sam, now we have still time for a few interviews. Let's bring in and have a quick chat also with our second place finisher, James Pinsker.
James joins us now, and well, that was an angry noise. Understandably, James.
Yeah, well, can't win them all, right?
Exactly. Talk us through the choice to go for the high downforce setup. We were just talking to Robert then, and he thought that the time you gained in the corners wasn't quite enough to make it worth it. Do you think the high downforce setup was the way to go, or do you think maybe the medium what was in the end the right choice?
Well, I think you see from, you know, I think in the field it was quite an even split, so it's quite close. I just do more practice with the high downforce. It's what I ran last season, and in the end, I just came up a tiny bit short. He was maybe a tenth a lap quicker on average throughout the race, and that was just about enough to pull the gap back. So you know, it's very close here, and I don't think the result would have been different on medium downforce. Notable, I mean, medium downforce is definitely harder to drive, so maybe I'd have put it in a wall. So I won't. Of the what ifs that I have about this race, that's not going to be one of them that I think into the future. But yeah, second place is good result, and it was a really, really tense race. But damn, to miss out like this is really frustrating.
I don't recall seeing you use a DRS. I'm sure you did. When did you use them?
Yeah, because of course the slipstream is really powerful here. I pretty much ploughed it all on at the start. So as soon as I saw from like the first lap that Robert had fallen to like 1.5 seconds behind, I gunned it, used double DRS for like a few laps, used them all just to try and get that gap to about 3 seconds, which then it makes me feel comfortable, and it lets me, you know, just keep it calm and then just keep driving with no car near me, but then obviously that plays into his favor later in the race because I had nothing really to defend with at the end. But yeah, I think I made the right decision with that as well. But the real problem was the fuel usage. Because this was a bit of a cold session, I was running about 0.3, 0.4 liters too little, so I needed to fuel save a little bit at the end of the race, and I think that just about might have made the difference, potentially. It's a frustrating one because I love this track and I love this combination, and I won here twice before in here. 2 of my 3 wins have been of this track. Would have loved to made it a third, but just wasn't quite to be. And massive congratulations to Robert. He drove a great race. I don't think he made a single mistake really. Plowed it through, kept it clean, and then gets his win that he deserves, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Looking ahead to Phillip Island, will you be using the high downforce setup again for that one? Because I recall when I commentated on that one a few seasons ago, again, there was a bit of a divide like tonight. Yeah, will you be sticking with the high downforce?
Well, we'll see. Obviously, I haven't started practicing for that yet, and I haven't driven that track in quite a while, maybe 3 seasons or more. So I don't know. It entirely depends on circumstance. It's not that I'm a high downforce driver. It's just that this track for me worked better on high downforce. I mean, I remember in Bathurst a few seasons ago, I was like the only guy in the field that was running medium, and I managed to scavenge a podium from that race somehow. So you know, it's very tricky. And obviously, there's a massive gulf between the medium and high downforce. You know, you go from C wing to D wing, and that's like 15 kph at a track like this, which is pretty huge. So it's a tricky decision, and it makes this track, of course, very intense racing. So Phillip Island, yeah, we'll see in practice how it goes. And I haven't had a win this season. I haven't had a win in 4 months now. It's, a few podiums now, a couple of second places. Getting a bit angsty. I want to go to that top step again. So we go again next week. We go again.
Definitely. Well, certainly, we're wishing you the best of luck in the commentary box for that one, James. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Shout out to Robert, obviously. He drove a brilliant race. Gets his win. Shout out to, obviously, Apex Racing TV and to Austin Knight for not being here again, so we get a brilliant race. That always happens. And then shout out, I don't know. Obviously, I don't have a team or anyone. I'll shout out to Philip Proschneider. He got a bit unlucky to finish down in 10th, but you know, he's a good friend of mine, and he gets his. He had a really good pace today. He was unfortunate that he couldn't fight there with the podium in the end, but yeah, congrats to him on a very good pace, and yeah, I'll just see you guys next week.
Yeah, see you then, James.
I think, Sam, we have time maybe for a very quick chat with Eddie, since he deserves that, because 12 places gained in the race after qualifying is quite remarkable. Eddie, congratulations on the podium. I was really surprised to see you up there after that great qualifying effort, because, come on, what was that 15th place?
That was me on medium downforce, because I'm in possibly challenged, I guess, with using high downforce at Spa. To be honest with you, that was my best alternative, and I absolutely nailed the first lap, so I even bothered taking the second one because I couldn't do any better, to be honest with you. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, that was the fastest pace I had on the medium downforce.
Lucky you, because you managed to go through all the carnage in the opening laps and find yourself in a perfect position for the race, so that was a good strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I benefited from a lot of carnage. I'm not a fan of the new smoke model anymore. I used to like the old one. I took a guess, I went left, and all I saw was an upside down car. So, I mean, I don't know if you captured it, but I went four-wheeling, pretended I was on a rallycross race. I was just lucky not to spin there. And then had a few other incidents, one between Theodore and Paul, and I think something else happened that I can't quite remember. So I mean, I kept my nose clean and just did my laps as best I could and wound up in P3, so I'll take it, you know?
Absolutely, and you had a very close race with Dennis for all race long. Dennis showing plenty of speed. He kept up with you after the pass you made right when Paul and Theodore crashed in front of you. And then almost challenged you for the podium on the last lap. So very nice, interesting battle with one of the, I think, in my opinion, upcoming drivers, because Dennis has been showing plenty of speed.
Oh, absolutely. I actually apologized to him because I know what it's like to be stuck behind someone through the whole middle sector. It's awful. So I thanked him for not trying any, I like to call them impossible moves, that in your head it seems like it's going to work, but you watch the replay, you're like, yep, that was never going to work. So it was great. I pushed every lap through the middle sector. I mean, there was a couple of times I thought I was crashing. I mean, it was tough, but yeah, he's a great driver. He's definitely going to be up there for sure.
And last question about the next track, the season finale, moving from Interlagos to Phillip Island, a very interesting track choice. Are you looking forward to this track? It's a track we don't usually visit a lot on iRacing official races.
Yes, we usually go there maybe once a year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it the last time we were there. It's a very challenging circuit. You have the option of different downforce levels, continuing the theme from this week. So it should be very fun and interesting to watch. Unfortunately, hopefully we'll have no incidents lap 1 into the hairpin. That's usually a very bad pinch point. If everyone keeps their head, we can have a good race, but things happen.
Absolutely. Mistakes are part of racing, and whenever you are driving such a tight field, always everyone is being very, very aggressive at the start. Anyone you would like to thank, Eddie, before we let you go?
I'd like to thank Apex Racing TV, all of our donators to help continue on with the broadcasting effort, the drivers who show up week in and week out, new and old or anything in between. And I'd like to thank iRacing for listening to our feedback on the car and addressing potential issues. And I think we'll leave it there.
Thanks for joining us, Eddie, also here tonight in the booth, and good luck for next week.
Thank you. Well, should be a good time.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. But that was definitely a very entertaining and thrilling race finale, as I predicted at the start. Sam, no Austin Knight on the commentary box tonight. Fun race to watch.
Yeah, sorry, Austin. If he's watching along. Yeah, poor guy. Real poor guy, because yeah, Interlagos was good. I did watch a little bit of the end of Interlagos, and that was an absolutely terrific one. Of course, that was yourself and Mark case. Yeah, what does that guy need to catch a break? Of course, he's at the Indy 500 today, so hopefully he had a good time. I'm sure it was still worth missing this one. But no, mate, I'm just pleased that I keep on accidentally commentating on these very good races, and I'll be sure to tune in as well to see who clinches the championship next week.
Absolutely. So make sure everyone to appoint your time for next week season finale from Phillip Island, Australia. But before I let you go, I would like to remind you to check our social on Facebook, Twitter, and also our Twitch channel at Apex Racing TV on Twitch, because also there we have all the live streams, and also latency is much better, so it's even more real time than YouTube. But mostly also make sure to tune in for the broadcast tomorrow. We have SRF Weekend Warriors round 11 from Summit Point at 7:55 GMT, and iRacing IGP Fan F3 VRS Series from Road Atlanta just half an hour later. So plenty of racing also on Sunday, although we have plenty of real racing also happening tomorrow. So thanks for sticking us sticking with us tonight here on Apex Racing TV. From myself, Alessandro Dalle Donne, Sam Fitzpatrick, and Samuel Kumo, who worked the beautiful cameras today. I wish you a good day, afternoon, or night, wherever you are in the big world.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.